Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today we got a pretty big patch for Remnant 2, the Dark Horizon DLC, that should change things quite a bit going forward. I'm not going to go over every single note here, but we'll hit on the ones that I think are most important, and will likely change up the way you play just a bit. So, first off, we do have a fixed issue where the Bulwark and Shield could potentially crash the game. That has been fixed, which is nice. Also, some other issues with crashing, which is always great because whenever there is a new DLC and a pretty big update, there is a strong likelihood that there will be some crashes and bugs that hit. So, it's nice to see them fixing that. They lowered the minimum Prism cleanse from level 51 to 10. This is absolutely massive. If you have a Prism that is pretty much scuffed right from the very beginning, and you have to wait all the way to level 51 before you can reset it, it's a massive waste, and most people aren't even going to be bothering. So now you can actually change that pretty much on the fly, which is absolutely huge. Some changes to Boss Rush that should see you earning a lot more experience because they've adjusted the health scaling, which should make it a little bit more challenging early on and less challenging later on, which I think is fine ultimately, but not really a major deal. The big changes are going to be increased XP gains for Boss Rush, also fixed an issue where Scholar, Sage Stone, and Mudtooth Elixir were not affecting XP gains in Boss Rush mode. So all of that is very nice if you are leveling alternative archetypes that you don't have fully leveled, if you're leveling up your Prism as well. So that is a good thing for sure. More relic dust as well for Boss Rush, which is nice. And then also fix an issue where it's still possible to receive items players already had possessed. It was rare, but it was kind of a bummer to see, so I'm glad that they did change that. So another nice change overall is going to be the fixed issue where it goes in the state where Dwayne cannot complete numbing agent recipe, which was very annoying if you did not have that already, which was kind of wild. And then they also fixed an issue where it's possible to not receive the Aloy extractor from Spark, which again would be a massive bummer. Now moving on into the archetypes, you do see that they did fix an issue with the Warden trait barrier was not unlocking account wide. That would have been very frustrating. Engineer fixed some issues with the Vulcan cannon and overclock, which wasn't resetting, and then also Vulcan cannon should be fixed so that it was firing shots slower than necessary and dealing less DPS. So any build with that Vulcan should be better off now. The Archon, this was the only major nerf. They reduced Havoc Form lightning hands damage, which I have a build coming out today or tomorrow with that, and it's still very good after some testing, just not nearly as good. Reduced lightning dash AoE damage as well. Keep that in mind if you want to lean into that one. It was pretty overpowered. I saw some people absolutely melting with it, but I'm unsurprised that they did adjust that. For the Ritualist and the Invoker, they reverted the line of sight changes for Way of Keula, Miasma, and Eruption, which I think is a good thing because while it did kind of cheese the game a little bit for hitting enemies around corners and in other rooms, essentially, it was just a lot more fun because essentially you could just hit everything and then just decimate a bunch of enemies, but it's not going to absolutely destroy tankier enemies, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I do think this is one that I'm unsurprised that they changed it back ultimately, and it was pretty quick how it went from that change. Now, I did have a recent build video where I talk about Miasma, so that is going to be even better than it already was, which is nice. They fixed some issues with mod generation not working, and then monorail windup. Another major change is the fixed an issue with Genesis Bow was scaling incorrectly. The base damage should still be, the primary fire should still be the same damage as before, but the scaling is going to be different. They also reduced Mega Drive damage scaling on returning bolts. They also, one of the things that I've been really bummed about is the Void Light mod, and it was not working properly. I wanted to use that one quite a bit and enjoy it, but unfortunately it wasn't really blocking everything that it needed to or accumulating with certain damage types, so they fixed that, which is nice. And they also fixed an issue with Black Greatsword, so basic attacks counting as charged attacks, that no longer is the case, so you can use the Weapon Lord Mutator properly with the sword, which I think is a good thing overall. Yeah, some other minor changes: increasing hardcore metal band max stacks from 2 to 3. As intended in the last patch, apparently that didn't fully go through. Fix some issues with the Burden of the Mason, so they can grant full benefits from 0 hour and Gold Signet while at medium armor. Fix an issue that allowed Hypercharger to benefit all melee damage instead of charge only. A little bit of a nerf there, essentially, but with the bug fix. And then also fixed a bunch of UI issues and then some miscellaneous fixes as well. All of this, I think, is ultimately positive news, besides maybe the Archon nerf, just because this late in the game, it's always tough to see one of your favorite things nerfed. Although they said they're just bringing it in line with the rest of the archetypes. And so I think that's ultimately going to be okay, as long as it wasn't hit so hard that it feels useless, as Archon really struggles with the other skills. People don't use them as often as I would like, so I would have rather seen the other two skills for the Archon maybe get a buff or have a little bit more focus, instead of just nerfing the Tickle Fingers, essentially the Emperor Palpatine of the skills. And I understand why they did it, but again, it's a bit of a bummer for those who really enjoy using that. And I will say that there are some combinations with the Archon skill that were a little bit wild with the Havoc form, as you could absolutely keep dang near permanent uptime between using like Way of Kahula or one of the Invoker skills, and then just stacking skill cooldown, skill how long skills last, all that kind of good stuff. So I do understand it, but again, a little bit of a bummer there. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. My name is Jopa. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, I'll have another build video for you soon as well. And I'll catch you all later.